All right, so Islam week 1, week 2 we hit socialism, which is I don't know if I would say like equally as terrifying of a threat, because I think to a greater degree, maybe you agree or disagree with me, I think to a greater degree socialism has already infected
Absolutely
every area of our American culture than probably anything else that I think we're going to talk about in the whole series. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it is. It's the one that has the potential and the opportunity to most penetrate American culture and have a position of strength. Mostly because there are Christians. Most Christians will not hold up the Islam, Mormonism, or New Ageism as a foundation that you can stand on. What I'm going to argue in the conversation about socialism and Christianity is that socialism is not something that you put on top of Christian faith. It is altogether a different foundation. And I think that's where people get they have trouble. So if I say, well, can I be a Republican or a Democrat and be a Christian? Yeah, of course. You can be a registered Democrat and be a Christian. Of course you can, right? But can you be a modern liberal or a socialist at the foundation of your belief and still hold a Christian worldview? No, you can't.
Yeah.
And so we're not talking about what's on the top. We're talking about the foundation. And the problem with socialism is that what it does is it's parasitical. Socialism is always parasitical. It comes in and it tries to commandeer healthy society and culture and layer over its applications and say, look, we can be democratic socialists.
Right.
We can be Christian socialists. But eventually what happens is it's almost like the fruit of the tree then poisoning its way all the way down and destroying the root and creating an altogether different tree. And so we need to identify when that begins to happen.
I see a lot in Christian circles that are looking or leaning toward a socialist ideology, or they're sort of like enticed by this because it has the appearance of Christianity.
Yep.
Right. It takes on a look almost like a chameleon does, where, well, of course you would want, universal health care because Jesus wanted to heal the sick, and of course you would want the welfare system expanded because Jesus loved the poor, right? So these, or even, well, the early Christians shared everything in common. Look, they're socialists. That's what they wanted. And they miss this critical difference that's like, but that wasn't by force.
Yep.
And that's like a pretty big,
huge problem.
Difference, right? There's a difference between giving freely or the church operating out of the work and the power of the Holy Spirit and generosity than forcing people, basically stealing their money by the sword or by threat of the sword to give it to somebody else. Those are two very different things.
Well, choose this day whom you will serve. Is God God or is the state God? And the more that a state controls your life, the more it is in essence becoming your God. And so one of the things we have to do in this is we got to go back to the beginning and say, what was God's perspective on how a culture should function? He wasn't silent on it. He laid it all out. He laid it out in the creation narrative. He laid it out in the Pentateuch, particularly in Deuteronomy, where we see how did God set up a culture and a society. We see a bit of it in Exodus as well. And so we have to go back to the beginning and ask ourselves, who is God? Again, is it God or is it the state? And what you're talking about is the parasitical nature of socialism. It doesn't create. Socialism has never created wealth. It only steals it. It only comes into something that was healthy because it was set up in a healthy, God-honoring way, then comes in, takes from it, and even steals its values, like love and compassion.
Where have I heard that there's somebody that comes to kill, steal, and destroy.
Yes.
Where have I heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Socialism Week because I think it's the most alluring of all the things to our people. Like, if there's anything that's going to turn them away, like,
Sure.
I mean, yes, from a cultural perspective, we absolutely have to make people aware that Islam is a political ideology and
a real threat.
and has an agenda.
Yes.
It has a very real agenda that we must be aware of. What we'll get into in a second. Those Mormonism, like most people in our congregation are not tempted by Mormonism right now. Even though it is a growing thing in parts of our country, but socialism is just this cancerous, like you said, parasitical thing that I think is the most attractive distractor
It
from
is
the
the
gospel.
one that most easily clothes itself. Like, well, you can be a Christian, because they'll compare it to capitalism, and it's an incorrect comparison. Socialism is not just an economic theory; it is a worldview.
Yes.
And it is a worldview that is completely contrary to a biblical worldview.
Yeah.